Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all doing? Today is Sunday, the 11th of February, 2024. We are live as always on a Sunday, and hopefully everything is coming through crystal clear. I've had a bit of work done with my internet literally in the last few hours to get it ready and finished. How is it coming across? Hopefully it's coming across quite well. How are we doing? Hope you are all well. We'll get into the topic in just a moment. Tonight we're going to be talking about your front gardens and how you use your front gardens, grown veg, grown plants, and so on. I want to find out more about how you use it. One of my favorite subjects, I have to say. Before that, we'll go through who is in just a moment. But before that, I've got a bit of a story to tell you. As you're probably aware, it is the new Chinese year. And I thought we'll celebrate it tonight. We went off, we got ourselves a Chinese, and we were driving back home with our delicious smelling Chinese in the bag, on the car seat. I could hear this rustling. And I was sort of thinking to myself, what on earth is that? What is rustling in my Chinese? So I pulled over, checked into my bag, and there was a pair of eyes just peeking out at me. It was my Peking duck, of course. Didn't see that coming, did you? Sorry. I didn't tell it very well, but I just thought we'll open it up with a bit of a story. So let's see who we have got in tonight. Adrian is out there saying hello to Richard and all. Hello to you. Hope you are well. Ballycillian Allotment Man is there saying good evening all. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Billy SBB is there saying hello, everyone. Good evening to you. Hope you are well as well. Stuart Jackson, evening, Richard and the Veg Army. Hope we all stayed dry this week. Indeed, I hope we did all manage to stay dry as well. Turbo Stream is out there saying good evening, Veg Podcasters. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Hargrave Gas is there. Evening all. Hope you've had a good week. Today, thankfully, much less wet than we've had in the last few days. We've had a dry weekend here, it has to be said. Very, very lucky with that. I've just realised my screen isn't working. Why isn't it doing that? That should be that. There we go. That's better. Don't know what was going on there. That's better. I can see what I'm doing now. Scott Ambler is there saying good evening all. Good evening to you. Kate is there saying good evening, Veg Army. Good evening to you. Ian Meadows is there saying evening all. Good evening to you. Chili Phil is there saying good evening from the Chilies. Good evening to you. Rebecca is there saying good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. My dad is there saying evening all. Good evening to you. Andrew Norris, evening one and all. Good evening to you. How are things in Croatia? We have got good evening gardeners from Anna Jones. Good evening to you. Digwell is there saying good evening, my fellow green finger friends. See what I did there? Indeed, we did. Good evening to you. Rebecca is laughing at my little story. We've got, oh my God, don't give up your day job from Digwell. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. It's because we actually did have duck for dinner tonight, and I've been saving that Jake with my wife. Coming over crystal clear. Good evening to there. Good. Richard, don't give up your day job. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. Jenny has joined us saying hello, everyone. Good evening to you. Time Stream is there. Oh, God. Peking duck. Indeed. Evening all. Richard, I really enjoyed listening to your panel slot from CD Sunday. You're a natural, says Amanda. Thanks so much. Yeah, it was really good, actually. I've got to say, I didn't even get nervous doing it. I thought I was going to get nervous. If you haven't heard Monday's podcast, you were here on there. I was at CD Sunday on the panel. Spoke about this last week. But yeah, didn't even get nervous. Not good, is it? Toby Stream says, we had a deluge of rain on Tuesday and Friday. My allotment didn't fare too well. Now completely saturated and most of the mulch was washed away. Oh, not good. But fingers crossed things will get better. Stuart says, great picture and sounds like excellent. And Ian says, it was great this morning. We had such fog that even our front garden looked good. Just like when we get snow, isn't it? It just covers everything over and makes everything look good. So, front gardens, that's the discussion that we are having tonight. How do you use your front garden? What do you grow in your front garden? And could you grow more into it as well? Big question that I have for you. Now, so where should I start? Where should I start? I think we've discussed front gardens before on this show, and I was asking you for a bit of advice on how to do my front garden last year. And I've got to say that last year, what we ended up to doing, uh, we just grew loads of fruits in pots, and it worked really well. It really did work well. I managed to get loads of pots, loads of fruit in pots, and the best thing is because I'm able to move them around, it suited me great. Now, my front garden, as I've discussed before, it is for parking our vehicles. We have 3 vehicles in our household: my car, Amanda's car, and my work van. Eventually, we've got to get the car in the garage once I've tidied the garage. But the ultimate idea was that we want 2 cars parked on the drive anyway, but we still want to grow plants around it. And I found that fruits in pots has worked very well. But I want to find out more of what you are doing. I've got a few photos we'll go through, but first of all, let's just go back to the comments. Evening all, we are in 4K. Is the picture really that good? As I said, I've had my actual internet fixed today. I had Sky engineers round, managed to fix it and find out we had a problem. Excellent stuff. Hargrave Gas says the ground is very saturated, hoping it will dry out soon so I can work on it. It's going to happen. It's spring is just around the corner, as they say. Turbo Stream says we were emailed by the site secretary not to go down as the paths were very dangerous. So back to square one. It was drying out nicely too. That's seriously wet when you're getting emails about that. Yeah, that is seriously wet when you are getting emails about it being dangerous. Stuart says, my front garden is all flowers, but I use the space to sell my plants. You know, I'm not going to tell anybody what they do with their front gardens, but I just want to see what everybody does and how they use it. Growing flowers is fine, especially as you sell plants as well. Kate says, current house is very open at the entrance to the country park, so don't use it much. But new house is a lovely little courtyard area where we will be having a herb garden. Excellent. Have I got pictures from you? I'm just having a look. Don't think I do. Looking forward to that. It would be good to see you how your front garden progresses there, Kate. Bethan says, evening all, and Nicola has joined, says, evening, sorry, just cooking dinner in Hatfield. What are you eating? What are you having for dinner? So, I think the first photos that I think we should go for, if I do this right, we'll go for Beddoes front garden, because I think Beddoes front garden is what I would call your stereotypical use of front garden. What I mean by that is, this is it. He's got his drive, he's got his garage, he's got a fence along one side. There's not much room for much else. A couple of cars parked on that drive, front door, which of course we all need access to. It's a very important part. But he does go on. He does have these pots in his front garden just by his door as well. Great use of growing space, as well as the window basket. Looks like some sort of heather growing in there or something, or a hebe. Looks fantastic, doesn't it? You know, it's still using the front garden. Added to that, he also has this little area where it looks like it could be currant bushes or some sort of trees that it could be growing there. Again, it just shows that even the blandest area has something growing in it. And this is more of that area. Of course, we often keep our weedy bins in the front garden as well, don't we? So there's the front garden, I feel, is a very difficult space to do anything in. So that was Beddoes front garden. I'll tell you what we'll do. We've got some pictures sent in a bit later on, so I couldn't do much with them. But we'll go through them nonetheless. So Jenny, her front garden, she sent me this today. She's obviously grass and some sort of tree. I'm not sure what that tree is. It looks like it could be an elder tree. Perhaps she could let us know in the chat what tree it is. But again, you know, nice space. If you are struggling with space in the front garden, or if you don't feel you have a big garden, I always think that using the front garden utilizes it better. I know Jenny has just moved in, so there's quite a bit going on there. Scott also has sent in this picture, his tiny little front garden by the looks of it, but there's some crocuses growing on in the front there. There's some pot plants in pots as well. Looks like a lavender and daffodils starting to show themselves as well. So again, I come back to the fact that this is still a usable space. Stuart Jackson, he said that his front grows flowers mainly, and this is his front garden, little flower area. Obviously, nothing's looking great at the moment. It is still in the middle of winter. So once things pick up, we should get better weather. But yeah, nice sort of front garden area. Again, this is Stuart Jackson's lawn area, somewhere to sell his plants and grow flowers, of course, all of which is important. Now, Digwell is also sent in some photos as well, and this is his veggie pod he has out in the front garden. I can see from this picture that Digwell, like myself, packs a lot into his front garden as well. The veggie pod, there's tomatoes, there's some planters down by the side, which I think we also have this picture of some of the planters growing down by the side, potatoes and things like that, nasturtiums, aubergines, all of which is a great use for the front garden. As I said, for me, I'm starting to use my front garden a little bit more now I've thought about it, and I want to use it more throughout 2024. So let's see what is going on in the comments. So Jenny says, our front garden is new, just a beautiful large tree in it at the mo. I'm still planning stages, but I'm thinking of making mirrored fruit tree guild frame to the front window. Yeah, I did think you had just moved, but it's a good start, isn't it? And I think it does show just how much space you have out the front that could be used. We have Graham Arnold has joined. Good evening to you. Hope you are well, my friend. Muddy Boots says, front garden was all clay and grass, was mostly moss, so now block paved with a small box hedge as a boundary marker. Yeah, I mean, the front gardens often are difficult to do anything with because of how much we have, and often I find that front gardens don't get as much sun either. So my front garden's facing east, so it only gets the light in the afternoon/evening. And that's again where I found that having them growing in pots, I've been able to move them towards the back when I get a little bit more light during these winter months as well. Highgrave Gas says we have a useless semicircle of mud and berries. What berries are they, though? What berries are they? Turbo Stream says, I don't have anything growing in my front garden, just slabs and some bark chippings. Doesn't matter. I want to find all this out. And I want to see if we can inspire any people to use their front garden a little bit more. Highgrave Gas says, we have a useless semicircle with mud and nettles at the front of our house. Think I may clear it and copy your fruit in pots idea. Fantastic. Please do share us some photos and, even a little video of seeing how you get on with that. It'd be good to see. Turbo Stream says, we are straight onto a busy footpath, so any pots would be nicked. And there was so much traffic, I wouldn't eat anything from it, to be honest. Now, you are hitting on a very good point when it does come to front gardens. One, they're not the most secure. My front garden, anything out there could get stolen. I do find that because I grow in pots, anything or the bigger pot is less likely to get stolen. So I try and grow stuff in as big pots as possible, just because they're less likely to get stolen. Plus, they look after themselves a little bit better. Of course, we'll get into that in just a moment. But theft, yeah, that is a very possible risk. And I like to think of it that, they could steal the plants, the pots, of course, but they could also steal the food that we are growing. I actually don't mind if anybody steals any of the food we're growing, as long as they go and eat it. We have a house just a couple of streets away. When we walk past, walking the dog during the autumn months, they have a pear tree that overstretches into the pathway. They actually put a sign on it saying, please help yourself to our pears. I think that's a great idea. And I think it's something we probably should be doing a bit more of, growing our own fruit in our front garden, but sharing it with people as well. Stuart says, I would love to grow more out the front, but the ground dries out really fast, so it mostly lawn, and 2 magnolia trees. I still think there's something you could do with it. I do. If you do, I mean, if it dries out fast, plenty of organic matter. Start building that soil up and in water regularly. Because it's in the front, I actually find it very easy to water my garden. I'm sharing my experience here a bit. What I tend to do, I leave a watering can and a water butt out the front. Every time I go to work in the morning, I just water the plants as I go to work. It takes me 5 minutes. Jenny says that tree, common name is the Indian golden rain tree. Interesting tree indeed. Ian Beddoes says Blasket is full of Chinese plastic lavender. Everything died whilst we were away in Spain. Yeah. Lavender normally pretty resilient, but I do. You have hit on something though. Hanging baskets or window baskets do have a tendency to dry out. I did see you had a bit of a irrigation system out the front in your photo, but yeah, there is a bit of a problem, isn't it? Things are drying out. Scott says, my front garden is tiny. We have a drive at the side of a house and a tiny strip of grass and a border by my front door. But we have lots of bulbs and pots for flowers. It makes me smile when I leave. I mean, my thought as well, if you've got a small garden like that, you may not want to grow food. And I understand that, as Tayway Stream said earlier, with all the pollution and things going past, there is a bit of a problem with that. But my thought, if with a tiny area like Scott has, would be a wildflower garden. Dig up a lawn, spray or add some wildflower seeds, and I think that would look quite nice. Plus, give nature a bit of a home as well. What do you think on that? What do you think on that? Toby Stewart says, I would struggle with time to do it. I have a 60-foot back garden and the allotment. Fair enough. Fair enough. Bally Cillian says, mine is a traditional one, lawn and roses in hanging baskets in the summer. Fantastic. As I said, it's not competition or anything. I just want to find out what you do and what have you. Nicholas says, I used to be able to park 4 cars on my drive. I struggle to get one on now. Yeah. I think we could probably park 3 on our drive, but not the size of my vehicles anyway. But yeah, using it to the front garden, I think is a great idea. Amanda says, Digwell, you've inspired me. I live in a back-to-back terrace. So I have just one garden at the front. It's all slabbed, and I tend to have mostly flowers in pots in my greenhouse. But your garden has made me realise I could be doing lots more. Maybe a nice herb bed and veggie pod. Absolutely. Veggie pod are great. They are expensive, but they are great. Scott says, I'm very... won't worry about that. All that. Nicholas says, my front garden has got a 25 by 20 veg garden. The other half is going to be a cottage garden this year. Hopefully, of course, Nicola, she only has a small bit of land to play around with, doesn't she? Right, great stuff. I love cottage garden as well. Rebecca says, I dug up my whole front garden and turned it into a wildlife garden. I now grow an abundance of flowers and the wildlife is thriving. I probably should do more flowers out the front, shouldn't I, thinking about it? Everything I grow is edible. Now, I'm sticking with my edibles, but if I was to grow it out the front, might be better. My neighbours of a certain age compare my front garden to the one from the TV series The Good Life. Our neighbours say exactly the same, Digwell. They laugh about it and say we live the good life. I mean, we do all live the good life, don't we? I think, anyway. Jenny says, on YouTube, Big Dreams, Small Spaces by Monty Don, there was a woman who turned her front garden into a community vegetable garden. Fantastic. This is what I want to see. Allotments are fantastic. Back gardens are fantastic, but a lot of people say they don't have much room in their back garden, can't get an allotment, but they have a front garden. And this is the point I want to get across. Use a front garden. Yes, front gardens often do have many other uses, as I said, parking the cars and bins, but use it. And a community vegetable garden, point I wanted to go down, people walking past tend to talk to you more as you're tending your garden out the front. It does add that social aspect, just like we get in the allotment. Stuart says, my friend grew potatoes in his front garden. He was told that the spuds would improve the soil. Spuds do improve the soil. It has to be said, more because of how you look after potatoes and you're digging them up and things. It definitely does improve the soil. What have we got? Scott says, new builds, you get very little back garden, never mind a front garden. I know. But whatever space you have, I feel we have to utilize the space that we have to our best abilities. Turbo Stream says, it's probably a big city thing, but I don't want to encourage people onto my property. I had enough of that when they repeatedly tried to steal my camper van. I understand that. As I said, security on a front garden is a big issue, so completely understand that. It definitely gives you a lot to think about, doesn't it? Now, Jenny says some plants like sunflowers and ferns are great for absorbing pollution. Also, some hedging plants like alder. A friend of mine, many of you may know him, I'm not going to say his name, but he had a very tiny front garden on a very busy road. And you'd want to reduce that pollution in some ways. So sunflowers, ferns, absolutely. Ferns, I think, would go down really well in that garden. Yeah. Turbo Stream says, the area that his bark is so small, the only thing that I could grow would be weeds. Got to think about it. Scott says, great idea for me. I was thinking something along those lines, maybe mixed wildflowers and herbs. Yeah, herbs would work just as well too. This is what we want. We're throwing ideas out for everybody and bouncing ideas off each other. Digwell says, at the nursery, we used to have to gather up the seeds from laburnum, golden rain tree, just in case some kids ate them, poisonous. I did not know that. Right, let's have a look at a couple more of the photos. We've done Ian's. So we've got two more people that have sent in photos. So this is from the Chili Kate. I said the chilies, but I'm going to go with Chili Kate. So this is her front garden. Again, lawn. There's a bit of an area at the back. It could certainly. What direction does this garden face? Is it south facing, north facing? Let us know in the chat. But these are the two beds that they tend to grow chili plants in. So obviously quite warm. Catches some of that. Although that wool probably catches a bit of sun and warms up as well. So great stuff going on there. And then Bethan as well. We've got her front garden. Now, if you've seen Bethan's YouTube channel, you know she does a lot in her front garden. She's got a pretty decent sized front garden, I have to say, as well. So she has strawberries and onions in pots growing out the front there. Fantastic, isn't it? On staging to make the most use of the sunlight, get them up a bit higher. She also has carrots in pots as well, growing out the front. Again, on staging to get them up a bit higher and get some more of that light. Asparagus bed. I've just sown some asparagus. I'll be sowing some asparagus in a moment. So again, growing out the front. A bit of a fern, so it'll probably catch some of that pollution as well. Rhubarb and soft fruit also growing out the front. Great stuff, isn't it? And then some more soft fruit, probably looks like gooseberries or currants and things like that. Have we got any more? Yep, a few more. This is down one fence. Raspberries and blueberries in pots. And veg trugs with parsley and marigolds. All growing out the front there. Fantastic. Right, where were we? Stuart says, just wanted to thanks for the advice about glass or plastic for my greenhouse last week. Ordered plastic this week. I was going to ask that question again this week, funny enough. Jenny says, Richard, get flowers in, companion planting. Yes. Yeah, companion planting, definitely. It could work, couldn't it? Couldn't work. I do want to do a bit more companion planting this year, actually. Nicholas says, the rest of my front garden is lawn and pond, 50 foot by 25 foot. Yeah, a lot of garden. Toby Storm says, I remember the episode of A Good Life when a passerby was chased up the street when Tom caught him pinching the leaks. I remember that one as well. Indeed. Scott says, Big Dreams, Small Spaces, great show. You know what I'm like? I don't watch TV, so I can't say that. Rebecca says, why don't you do a potager garden? Then you'll get the crops if you encourage the wildlife. Potager garden didn't really work for me. I've tried it in the past. I just couldn't quite get it right for me. I'm an edible gardener. I grow food, and that's what I wanted my garden, everything in my garden, to be edible. So that's kind of what I didn't do. I like the idea of potager. Don't get me wrong, the mix of flowers and vegetables, but I'm a edible gardener, as I call myself. Chili Phil says, I took out a huge hedge that run across the whole front of our house and have now put in a raised bed for our chilies and also grow a lot of sunflowers there in the summer to encourage pollinators. We then grow in pots, aubergines, aubergines, peppers, etc. It's self-facing, so we really wanted to make use of that space. That's exactly what you have done. Really like it as well. Hopefully, we're going to see more of it this year as well, and see what happens. Ian says, would your mate with small garden be Mr. V? Is he still growing in it? Yes, it was him, and I don't think he is. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in over a year, I think. Richard Golden says, hello all. Good evening to you, Richard. Lovely to see you. I'm gonna arrange to meet up with you soon. Idaho says, hello everyone. Sorry I'm late. I'm driving. Can't chat, but listening. We're talking about front gardens this week. Chili Cake says, our front garden is south-facing, so a real sun trap and perfect for chilies. It's Phil's baby. Fantastic. I mean, if it's a sun trap, chilies obviously great. Peppers, aubergines, tomatoes, watermelon. I reckon the watermelon would do well out there as well. A lot of people have been discussing about watermelons at the moment to try and see if it's possible to grow in the UK. I've grown them before, but this year I'm going to try and grow a big one. Digwell says, same as mine, perfect for tomatoes and chilies. Plus my walls are rendered white. Yes, so a white rendering on the wall does bounce light back to pop it back in. It's good, isn't it? Make it a bit better. And Graham says, lovely job, Bethan. Fantastic, fantastic. Jenny says, great gardens, everyone, as well. Yeah, indeed. It is great to see everyone's gardens and what you can be doing and what you are using it for. So based on what we've been talking about today, put your hands up if you are feeling, and I went through this last year, put your hands up if you are feeling like you could use your front garden a little bit more to grow, maybe not just food, but just anything a bit more. I mean, I'm going to put my hands up because I think I can certainly grow a lot more in my allotment, in my front garden. I mean, I've got goodness knows how many pots out there. There's 3 currants, 2 gooseberries. We've got the patio trees out there. We've got blackberries, tayberries, blueberries. Excuse me. I'm trying to think. There's about 20 potted plants out the front there that we are using, and we're going to do more. Figs. Fig tree does really well out there, I have to say. We've got some beautiful figs this year. I don't think what else we have. A huge collection of things that did really well. Jenny says, I may look for a little greenhouse for the front garden. Why not? I guess it's south-facing and has a fence. Yeah. I mean, why not? Why not? Indeed. I mean, I think we've said this before about compost. Everybody needs more compost, and I've never heard anybody say they wish they had a smaller greenhouse or they wish they had a smaller shed at the same time. I certainly think another greenhouse would do us well. I've been planning to do this for quite a while. I've just never got around to it. We keep our wheelie bins out the front. That's fine. I prefer them out the front because our dustmen just come along and collect them nice and easy. But I was thinking of making a nice little wheelie bin house and then trying to grow stuff on the top as well in order to try and improve our growing space out there. But Who knows? Who knows? Leighton, Road to Self-Sufficiency says, front garden is a domain of she who must be obeyed. I've got one of those. I'm the veg gardener, I'm the veg grower around the back. To be fair, I'm better off. It's self-facing and about allotment size. Yeah, my arrangement with she who must be obeyed, she has the rule inside the house, outside the house is mine. And I think I mean, you've hit on something that I've always said. As much as I love my garden, I always try, if I make some big changes, I always have to run everything through Amanda because it's only right that it's her garden as well, that everything is checked off by her too. She must be obeyed, as you say. Ian says, do you think I would get away with taking some of the smaller tomatoes to Spain? We'll go through those photos actually in a moment. So Ian's growing young tomatoes in his hydroponics. They're getting pretty big. You'll see the photo later because he's off to Spain. Would I risk taking some to Spain? I probably wouldn't, just because of customs and things. I don't know what the rules are, but I would be very worried about it. Just my thought on that. Chili Phil said, I suggested potting a greenhouse on the front garden instead of a grass. Kate reckons the neighbours might not like it. Well, on that note, and Nigel has said the same, our council have a height restriction for items on the front garden. I was thinking to say, I believe there are laws in place about the size of structures at the front. I'm not sure off the top of my head what they are, but I do believe. That being said, I've seen plenty of sheds and plenty of greenhouses in front gardens. So the height restriction might be something like 2 meters, 2.4 meters. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there is something same as like the size of your fence out the front has to be. I can't remember what it is. If it's seen off a road or something. Um, But if you are looking at putting structures out the front, it's worth just checking before you do anything. And I don't know if that makes any difference, be it a permanent or a temporary structure. Um, just something to think about. Anyway, I don't know if anybody is able to quickly check that up for me and see what the laws is. Scott says, I think I could grow something up the wall on either side of a window in the front garden. That's a very good idea, Scott. That's a very good idea. I'm thinking about mine now. I could possibly grow a kiwi or something up there to use that wall space as well. Grow up. Good idea. Good idea. Jenny says, I will check any restrictions we may have, but I'm not aware of any. Maybe the neighbours won't mind if I have give them a little basket of veg every now and then. It's not the neighbours you want to worry about, Jenny, it's the council, isn't it? And Nigel says, we can only have a 1.2 metre fence. I think, if I remember, when it comes to fences, there are restrictions if your fence can be seen off a road. But if it's a hedge, there is no restriction or something like that, which is why they're normally smaller around the front. Our hedges also have a limit, I think 2 meters, but rarely enforced. Something along those lines. Something along those lines. Tilly Phil says they've put up with rusty and broken caravans and camper vans. Now they've gone. The neighbours have started talking to us, so she might have a point. Yeah, we all do it. We all do it, don't we? There could be. Yeah, I've completely lost my train of thought there. Sorry. Rob Solomon Gardens joined. Good evening, all. Good evening to you. Rebecca says one of my neighbours have flipped their garden and have a veg plot with a greenhouse on the front. It's a great idea as that's where the sun is. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a great idea. It's just making sure you hit those restrictions if they exist. If they exist. Nigel says sweet peas would look good around the front window. That's a good idea. Sweet peas as well. Again. But Scott also likes the idea of kiwi. And Digrat says it used to be 4 feet for roadsides, 6 feet for side fences. Yeah, not sure what not sure what the restrictions are off the top of my head. I should know, but I can't think what it is. Sorry, this one threw me for a minute. I saw it come up. Rob Solomon Garden, no sound on, trying to watch the chat from my hospital bed. I don't know if you can hear me then, Rob, but I hope you are okay if you're in hospital. Very, very sorry to hear that. Hope you are okay. Make sure you look after yourself. Right, I tell you what, let's have a look at your photos that we were talking about that have came in this week quickly, doing things in reverse a bit. Now, Scott has been reading this really interesting recipe book. It's called something like Cooking by Pictures, and there's talk of cooking compost and things like that. Sounds very, very interesting. I gotta say, if you are in the group, have a closer look at it. It's a really interesting looking book. And these are the tomatoes Ian was talking about earlier. They're getting a bit large for his hydroponic system, and he's wondering what he should do next. I personally would be worried about taking them to Spain. It's a little bit early, I think, to get them outside as well. I would be looking at trying to get some more grow lights or something and move them on somewhere a bit cooler. It's difficult because he's away soon, and he's trying to prepare for that. Before anybody says it's too early, that's why. Now, Digwell has a large sack of spuds arrived. If you are not yet in part of his single seed potato challenge 2024, go check out his video about it. Go sign up. It's a good challenge. I'm doing it. I'm going to be getting my potatoes soon, and I'm going to be trying to grow as much potatoes as I can from that one seed potato. It's on, as I said, it is on. Bethan's back garden. She said a bit late for this, but nonetheless, this is her back garden. As you can see, plenty of space going on there. Stuart also has got his supporter club seeds. Each month I send out these seeds for members of our supporters club. Details on that at the veggroundpodcast.co.uk. So please do keep sharing your photos. You can post them in our Facebook group, share to me via social media, or email me, richard at the veggroundpodcast.co.uk. That's richard at the veggroundpodcast.co.uk. So just quickly, I think it's DVT. Very sorry to hear that. Take care. Take care. We are here. We are here. Digwa says local bylaws are different everywhere. I did think there was a national law when it comes to the front gardens, but I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. Nicola Cornish Heaven says my front garden has 4 times 2.5 meter horse-drawn cart in the front garden in Brighton. Neighbours complained, but council said it was fine as it's on wheels. Great flowers and veg on it. Grew flowers and veg on it. There you go. Put your greenhouse on wheels. That'll get over it. What else have we got? What else have we got here? What do we got? Good neighbour Nigel. So do I. What's that? What have I missed? Oh, sweet peas. I think. Sometimes I get a bit lost. Jenny says, Nicola, maybe I can pop some wheels on the greenhouse then. That's exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. And take care, Rob. Scott says, with tomato plants in, could you take cuttings from them and sacrifice the main plants to reduce the size of them? That's an idea. That is an idea, perhaps. There's the trouble when you start tomatoes too early. They do get big pretty quick, and it's something to be a little cautious of. Belly Cillian says rules are different. I live in a cul-de-sac, open plan, front gardens, no hedges or walls. Yeah, that's always made me wonder. I mean, my old house that Amanda and I did live in, a very tiny open plan garden, and we did have this privet bush running down the side, which I took out, and it made the entire lot look much bigger. But then we didn't have a boundary between ourselves and the neighbour. Not really a huge problem. The garden was only 5 meters by 3 meters. I guess it was tiny. But when I think back, it was south-facing. It's where the sun was. And I wish I just used that little bit of garden a little bit more. I mean, the whole garden, even the back garden, was pretty much useless back there in our old house. But hey, these things are set to challenge us. And if I'd used that front garden more, it would have been good. What I wish or what I think I should have done was along the boundary, we're still maintaining this sort of open plan, but along the boundary between myself and my neighbour, I wish I had grown, excuse me, step over apple trees. That's where you basically train a apple tree to have its branches going along the floor like that. Really, oh, hiccup, sorry. Really, really fairly low to the ground, so you step over it. I wish I had done that, in all honesty. I do like a good step over apple tree, it has to be said. Nicholas, as they say, the side sheets of tomato plants produce better plants and crops. Yeah, that's if it's producing side plants. It does depend on the climate, of course. Tillyville says cul-de-sac here as well, and not allowed hedges, fences, or walls along the front by the pavements. Now, I did not know that. Did not know that. I wonder what the rule would be on step over apple trees. Would they be allowed? Because they're not really a hedge. They're quite, might be a foot off the ground. They're quite low, and I think they do work quite nicely in that situation. I do want to do more step over trees and things like that. Bit of fancy pruning going on. Has anyone ever made a step over apple tree or grown a step over apple tree? Let us know in the comments. Right, let's go to the challenge of the week that you sent me. This is a quick one. You sent me the challenge of making a cloche for my allotment. I didn't quite make a cloche, but I'll show you what I came up with. Right, guys, so this week you sent me the challenge to make a cloche for here on my allotment. Now, I'll be honest, I don't often cover things on the allotment because I can't get down here as much as I usually would like to water things, although that is changing, to be fair. What I do have, so it's not really a build, but you can tell me whether you think this is a complete mission or not. I have these sort of polytunnel cloche things that I tend to use. Now, the reason being, my beds are mostly 2.4 metres by 1.5 metres. So they're quite big, and if we were to make cloches for every single bed, they would take up a lot of space when not in use. Instead, what I do, I use these because they fold away nice and easily in the shed. And if we were to put lettuce or something underneath these, they would grow fantastically. So there we go. That is my, I need to go a bit further down, but that is my cloche for the allotment. So was that a mission accomplished or a mission fail? You decide and let me know. Don't forget, of course, I need a mission for next week. If you've got any ideas of a challenge that you can set for me for next week to do. Get a bit more time on my hand with this faster internet, so it should make things a little bit easier if you do have any ideas of that. Don't think I'm on call next weekend. I'll have to double check, but anyway, any nice challenge would be good. Right, what have we got? What have we got in the comments quickly? Digger says they can be, talking about the tomato shoots, they can be better if they are planted soon enough. Many leave it too late and waste of time if at the end of April, early May. Yeah, that's a problem. The replanting of the shoots works great in warmer climates. I think it's very popular in the US. But here, I don't think our summers are quite good enough for that to really flourish. It's all about the timing to really get it right. Yeah. At this point, I've just got to remind everyone, please do give us a like. Please do give us a thumbs up. Please do give us a follow. Please do give us a subscribe. And don't forget to click the notifications so that you know when we go live. Ballycillian says, that's why I have a lawn and bordered with rose bushes, because everything has to be open planned. Yeah, rose bushes. that sounds like a good idea. Rose hips are tasty as well if you have allowed the dog rose. Probably that probably comes under the hedge thinking about it, though, doesn't it? Doesn't it? And Rob's allotment garden says, "Back in a while. Take care, buddy. I genuinely do hope you are okay." So sticking with the theme of these front gardens, it's quite interesting hearing what people are growing. In terms of food, it seems like a lot of people seem to be growing chilies, aubergines, tomatoes, the sort of sun-loving, sun-trap crops, and flowers and things like that, or just laid out to lawn. It is a difficult one to really figure out what to do for the best. Now, I'm going to come back to what I plan to do this year in my garden, just to add a bit of context. So I'm going to stick with my plants, my fruit trees in pots. I'm probably going to put some of those into some bigger pots, but I did have a nice area where I could still squeeze in a few more. Think I might do a few aubergines out the front and sweet peppers. I've got so many sweet pepper and aubergine seedlings at the moment that I need to squeeze into spaces to really make the most of. Rhubarb as well, I think would do quite well in the front. I've grown rhubarb from seed last year and this year. In fact, the ones that we sowed last week have germinated, what I remember. But all these are going to need homes to go, and using out the front would do quite well. Was it Steve's Seaside Allotment? I think that was his name. He got dustbins, big old dustbins, metal galvanized dustbins, and planted some trees into those, fruit trees in those, which I thought was a great idea. And metal dustbins are going to be heavy when they're full of compost, so nobody's going to be stealing those, as well as giving themselves a big growing area. However, coming back to that restrictions on size and things like that, what I've done, I got some of the patio fruit trees that only grow up to probably about 1.2, 1.5 meters, so they're quite low. I've still put them in quite a big pot, but because they're quite low, they're not going to take up so much space. They're going to be going out the front as well. And then underneath our window, we've got a big window, big front window. It's 2 meters long, I guess. I want to get a nice big window box there, in which I'm probably going to do salad crops, strawberries, carrots, things like that in there as well. Just to make most of the space that we do have. And this is the whole thing that I want to come back to. It's all about making use of the space that we do have. So I think we have exhausted this conversation by quite a bit now. I don't think anybody else is really having anything to add, or do you? Let us know in the comments if you want to add anything to it. So what do we talk about next? I guess the next thing I could discuss, or something I have in my back pocket, is perennial vegetables. We're often talking about perennial vegetables, and it's something that came up at CD Sunday. Um, the Chili's very kindly sent me some perennial vegetable seeds as well. And I want to know, are you growing perennial vegetables this year, or are you been growing it in the past? It's definitely something I'm trying to do more of myself, other than rhubarb or asparagus, or globe artichokes or Jerusalem artichokes. Um, I'm looking more at the tree cabbage that have been sent and things like that. What perennial vegetable are you growing? We've sent out this month Welsh onion in our gift pack. Welsh onion is a delicious perennial onion that comes back and back. And we're going to be growing those each month, each year as well. Nicholas says, yes, Richard, it was Steve's seaside kitchen garden and allotment. He uses metal dustbins on his drive and 30-litre pots of potatoes. Yeah, I thought it was. It's a great idea, isn't it? Those extra heavy bins full of compost. Then nobody's going to be stealing loads. The only trouble is, could they be stealing the food at the same time? I think so. Richard, just notice in the background, is your guitar playing so bad you are now using it to dig? No, I spend so much time in this shed that I leave my guitar in here. So when I just need a couple of minutes, I pick it up and play. I'm not going to play it for you today, though. We've got to think about I might get a copyright strike, so I can't play anything on it for you. It shouldn't be there, should it? I want it hanging up somewhere out the way, but we'll see. Jenny says, I would love to grow more perennial veg. I could make a traditional cottage garden out the front, a beautiful mixture of vegetables, fruits, and flowers. Actually, that would be beautiful, I think. A nice cottage garden out the front of your house. Really dig up that lawn. Nice arrangement with some salvia, maybe some red hot pokers and some I'm trying to think of other cottage garden plants. What are they called? I've got one out the back there. As I can't think what it's called. But yeah, I think that would look good out the front as well. Turbo Stream says, I sowed some leeks this week along with another pot of the red mustard from the supporters club. Red mustard? When did I can't remember when I sent that out. Delicious, isn't it? Red mustard. Absolutely delicious. Bethan says, I sowed your Welsh onions the last time you sent them, maybe 2 years ago, and they are still going. Excellent stuff. Great to harvest spring onion tops to garnish dishes. They're delicious, aren't they? That's why I like growing them. They are delicious. They come back year after year, and they, a bit like chives, they expand, and you get more and more each year, which I think is a good thing as well. It's just another reason to grow Welsh onions. I tried growing once the Egyptian walking onions, the ones that create bulbils on the, say that's a stem, they're great bulbils a few centimeters up and then they flop over and plant some more and then they keep doing that. I tried growing some of those a couple of years ago. They just didn't take, so I didn't get those. I might have to try that again. The Egyptian walking onions, another great one to grow. Chili Kate says the Austrian tree cabbage is supposed to be us dipping our toes into perennial veg. I think that's the one you sent me, isn't it? And asparagus for one of the new beds. Well, I tell you what, we'll come back to that in a minute. We've got a sow along. It's quite a long video thinking about it of the sowing the asparagus because I love growing asparagus. Toby Stream says the red mustard was from last year, so were the leeks. 2 days later, more leeks arrived in this month's pack. Always around this time of year, I include leeks because we all grow leeks, don't we? Scott says never tried Welsh onions, have sowed them, and I'm looking forward to trying them. Fantastic, fantastic. They are good. They are really, really good. I think anyway. The fact that they come back time after year after year, if you look after them right, makes them worthwhile. Right, I tell you what, let's bring up this asparagus video, and then we can come back after that and discuss how you look after asparagus and get some tips on asparagus gardening. Right guys, I don't know if you've ever sown asparagus from seed before. Most of you are probably used to buying asparagus in crown form or even young plants. But this week I am sowing asparagus. I already made one sowing of asparagus. Let's do the second sowing. So come down here and I'll show you what we're going to do. So we've got our tray of seed sowing compost. First things first, as always, the label. This variety is called Conover's Colossal. It's quite a well-known asparagus. It's certainly one that is very, very popular and well worth growing. So what we're going to do, we'll just pour out the seeds, and let me show you these. These are the seeds. They're fairly large, which is why I'm using these plug plant trainers. Being so large, they are easy to handle. What we need is a little dibber, which I have one. That looks like it's never been used before. And all we're going to do, just dib a hole about 1 centimetre deep. and repeat until they are all done. And we drop a single seed into each hole, and I will repeat this until all the seeds are used up. Repeat with a few more holes. I'm only doing one seed per plug plant because that's all we really need. Now, seeds are pretty cheap to come by, especially when you compare them to the cost of crowns or plants. But you do get quite a few for your money if you sow them all. And the chances are they are pretty reliable at coming up from seed. They do tend to germinate pretty well. So you might be thinking to yourself, there's 40 asparagus plants in this lot. Is that too many? Potentially, it probably is for most people. It probably is too many asparagus plants for most people. But don't worry. Any of the excess you can pass on to friends, sell at the front door, or give away to charities and things. So there's certainly a lot of demand for asparagus if you are growing them from seed. Now, moving on from that, so obviously these seedlings, or these seeds, are going to live in this plug plant, the trainer. The plug plant trainer is going to go in my heated propagator until they germinate, which is indoors, until they start to show signs of life, at which point we will then start to move them under grow lights, give them the best chance. This time of year we might get away without needing the grow lights. These are a fairly decent plant, but I just think give them a good head start and they should do well. Get rid of the rest of the seeds. So that's the entire lot now sown. We're just going to brush over it and leave it to go. Okay. Now in the meantime, what we're going to be doing is preparing our seed bed. What I would say, so these will grow on. Once they germinate, we put them up into bigger and bigger pots as they are needed. And I will leave them in the pot for the first year. We're not going to be able to harvest any asparagus until they are about 3 years old. But what you will see growing on these, you know, you will be able to tell that they are asparagus. And then what we're going to be doing for this meantime, probably won't be till next year, but I've done it last year, so I've got quite a few plants in reserve, is prepare the bed. These are a perennial plant. They will be in the bed for 20 years, so it's so important to get the bed right at the beginning. And by that I mean plenty of compost added, plenty of manure. Make sure that there are absolutely no weeds. You really do want to reduce the amount of weeds because asparagus hates weeds. Also recommend adding a bit of seaweed or seaweed mulch. Asparagus is a coastal plant, so it can tolerate a bit of seaweed as well. But basically, first year, get that bed really prepared. Come next year, we will then plant these out. Now, when you get crowns, you normally have to make a ridge in the soil in which you plant your crowns, and then you cover it back over. By growing these from seed and in pots, you don't have to do that, because you just dig a hole the size of a pot and drop the pot straight into that hole. Makes it a little bit easier, I think, when it comes to planting. And I have had a lot more success of getting these plants to establish when growing them from seed when compared to crowns that we've brought from places. So as easy as that. Looking after asparagus is really easy. They do like a lot of water, and by a lot of water, I mean a lot of water. As I said, they are coastal plants, so a lot of water. You'll get the spears. You want to harvest the spears between sort of May and mid-June. Very short harvesting time. But you also want to leave some spears to photosynthesize and turn into ferns. So that's why I don't harvest after about the mid-June. It's a good idea to get early, medium and late crops if you can, and that's one of the reasons that I love growing asparagus, and I grow a lot of asparagus from seed. A bit of mulch with compost during the winter. Seaweed as well is really good if you can get hold of it, and added to that, it helps reduce the amount of weeds. Main thing to remember, they are a coastal plant. A lot of people do forget about that when it comes to asparagus. Coastal plant needs a lot of water. Right, if you've got any tips on how you grow asparagus, let us know in the comments down below. I'm going to go put this indoors in the heated propagator. Yeah, so please do let us know your tips on how you go about growing asparagus in the comments. As I said, it's one of my favourite vegetables. I doubt many people have ever grown it from seed in our allotments or gardens, usually growing it from crowns. But let me know your experience. Where should we? So Bethan says, I never liked the idea of walking onions. I like my veg to stay where I put it. Yeah, it's true. But to be honest, I didn't find they walked anywhere at all. So I had no idea what they were going to do. It just did. I just found them. I couldn't get them growing. I will try again one day once I've got no weeds. Yeah, if that ever happens. Stuart says, still got 2 lemongrass plants from last year. We will be growing it again. Stuart's very good at growing lemongrass, it has to be said. Might have to sow some of that soon. Valley Cillian says, I tried the walking onions, but didn't really work in raised beds. Not enough room for them. Yeah, I can see that being a problem. They are a very hard one, I think, to get right. But when you get them right, it's worth it. Turbo Stream says his walking onions were last seen in Newcastle. Funny. Scott says, thinking I can pot them in new no-dig beds so weeds shouldn't be a problem. Talking about asparagus, yeah, they should be. They really do need. The mistake I made on my asparagus bed down on the allotment, I was in too much of a rush to get my asparagus planted because I just wanted it in there. And it's just so weedy. It's so difficult to look after that the asparagus almost gets choked out and doesn't perform well. So that's why I'm trying to add new asparagus beds at home that are really well preparing. And I'm doing asparagus from seed for that very reason. Digwell says, nice one. Never tried to grow sparrows grass. Give it a try. I think they are one of the best vegetables to grow. They do take up a lot of space for a long time and produce very little. But what they do produce, it's one of those vegetables that tastes so much better when you grow your own than store bought for that very reason. Andrew Knight says, I have some 10 crowns of asparagus and they provide us with enough for this season. Lovely to harvest and take straight to the kitchen, isn't it just? Isn't it just? Straight out the garden, straight into that kitchen, in a pan with a little bit of butter. Don't need much cooking. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Turbo Stream says, I don't think I have ever eaten asparagus, let alone grown it. Really? Really? I mean, some people have said it's a acquired taste. I love the stuff, especially with a nice steak or something as well. Had 2 batches, Nigel says, had 2 batches of asparagus crowns destroyed by Miles. Third time lucky now. We'll grow next batch in metal raised bins with a mesh base. That's a good tip. Thank you, Nigel. That's actually the sort of tip. I didn't even think moles would be a problem, but clearly they are. And yeah, they are a problem for you. Growing them in like the metal raised beds, mesh bottom, might just stop the moles. You've obviously got good soil if the moles are there. Digwell says, easier to grow lemongrass from the ones you buy in Tesco's, 2 for 60p. Put them in a glass of water. When they start rooting, plant them. Mine are close to 2 feet tall. Started in October. It's a good idea. Good idea. Nigel says, need to plant asparagus crowns on a ridge of soil. Yes, you. Oh God, I've just need my table. Yes, asparagus crowns. You do need to create a ridge in the soil when you spread the crowns out, backfill it to grow them. That's why I find growing them from seed and growing them in the pot for the first year. Then in the second year, you just pop that pot straight in the ground. No need to do all that or those ridges or anything, and there's a good chance they will establish. The trouble I had with crowns in the past is getting them to establish. I actually have more luck getting my autumn planted crowns established compared to my spring ones. There we go. Scott says, think my other message got lost. Is it possible to plant asparagus out into a bed in the first year, i.e. into the new no-dig beds? Yeah, you can plant it in the first year. Just make sure it's strong enough to go in. You cannot harvest asparagus for 3 years after planting, so it does take a while before you can actually harvest anything. But it is worth growing, in my opinion. Ian Beddoes says Trisha's just video called from Spain and was asking if she could grow lemons and oranges in large pots and how big they would get. Yes, you can. I don't know how big because it depends on the varieties, but it's certainly similar size to apple trees. And you quite often do see them in Spain growing in pots, big clay pots. They do need big plots. Please do take photos and share them with us. That would be great. Does anyone can/store asparagus? I've sown my supporters club seeds. I don't, because to be honest, we always eat it as soon as it comes in. It's delicious, absolutely delicious. But it would be interesting to know, does anyone can or store asparagus, and how would you go about it? It's something we need to do more of, isn't it? Canning and storing our vegetables. Ballycillian says, I like dipping asparagus in soft boiled egg. I cannot wait to get some asparagus and do this. It's the very thing I've got my mouth is actually salivating at the thought of all this asparagus. Like eggs Benedict with asparagus as well. Tasty, tasty, tasty. Nigel says, love asparagus with poached eggs or fresh salmon. What it makes your pea smell. I've never found it does make it smell. But yeah, point made. Stuart says, my lemongrass was grown from Supporters Club seeds, so plants for free. Win-win. Yeah. Andrew says, Richard, did you download my video? I did, and I forgot about it. So I'm going to save that video for next week. I might get away with uploading it now, but I'll save that video for next week if you don't mind, Andrew. We've got a lovely video coming in from Andrew. I will double check I downloaded it, actually. I did see the email, but and you even messaged me to double check. I'll save that for next week, though. It's a lovely video related to what we were talking about today, funnily enough. Scott says, long-term investment, but like others are saying, asparagus and soft-boiled eggs. Oh, God, perfect combo. Yeah, love asparagus. Absolutely love asparagus. It's delicious. It's so beautiful. Eggs Benedict, soft-boiled eggs, hollandaise sauce. Asparagus and a hollandaise sauce. My mouth is absolutely salivating at the thought of it now. You got me really, really hungry. Really, really hungry. I've already had my dinner. As I said, I had my Chinese. Good, great stuff. But I have found, as I mentioned now, obviously I live quite close to the coast. So I do find that over the winter, what I like to do is just collect a decent handful of seaweed that has washed up onto the coast and mulch my asparagus with that. Reason being is it does create a brilliant mulch, of course, and it may have a little bit of salt in there, which asparagus can tolerate, but also it helps ward off any of the weeds. So my other tip with asparagus, seaweed as a mulch. If you can get hold of some, it's well worth doing. There are certain rules about harvesting seaweed, but my understanding, I've got permission from my local council to do it, but my understanding is if it's washed up, then it is fine to pick. Digwell says, I grow white bread for my soft boiled eggs. How do you grow white bread? Do you have a bread plant? Kate says, I'm one of those people with the weird genetic my words out. I'm one of those weird people with the weird genetic predisposition to the nasty asparagus pea smell. It makes everyone's pea smell. The ability to smell it is the genetic variant some of us have. Horrible. I'll take your word on it. I've not suffered it myself, but I'll take your word on it. I don't smell it at all. Nigel says, challenge for next week. Collect some seaweed and cook a dish. Just had seaweed for dinner tonight, funnily enough. But yeah, challenge accepted. Collect some seaweed. Roxy, we'll have to go for a walk on the beach one day. Slightly off topic. As I said, I'm quite close to the sea here on the coast. Friday night, I was going to take Roxy for a walk on the beach. Then I saw there was a news alert. We had a whale wash up on the beach, which isn't unusual. One end of the beach, but down the other end, unexploded mine also washed up as well. What an eventful night. I'm glad I didn't end up walking down there at the wrong time. Just off topic, I know. Is it lava bread that is seaweed bread in Wales? Cook that. What's seaweed bread? Or lava bread? What is it? What is it? Oh, let me know. Let me know. Scott says, this is what I love about growing your own. They're looking forward to something like an asparagus harvest, truly seasonal and something now available in shops taste-wise. Absolutely, yeah. The taste of homegrown asparagus is second to none. Same with strawberries and carrots and things like that. You just cannot beat it, can you? Just cannot beat it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Right. So next week, we've still got over 15 minutes to go tonight. So don't feel I am wrapping up just yet. But we've got the challenge set for next week. That is going to be collect some seaweed and cook a dish. I'm going to be sowing some tomatoes next week, just to give you a bit of a heads up. What else? I thought what we might discuss is hanging baskets. A little bit early, I know, but growing veg or growing plants in hanging baskets, something I thought we could discuss. Excuse me, next week, if that appeals to you. I also thought, in fact, we might start doing this now. Yeah, we're going to start doing that now. What I did. I'll just quickly go through these before I go off on that tangent. Digrat says, Eskimo World War II song, Whale Meet Again. Don't know where, don't know when. Good to that. Good one. Good one. Tyrant Stream says, lava bread is stewed seaweed. Looks revolting, but apparently tastes nice. I will look into it. I will look into it. That's all I can say. So, I thought in this last 15 minutes, just to give me a subject to cover, last year we did the alternative veg grower show, didn't we? It didn't quite work to plan, but I thought the idea was a good idea, and we are going to be doing it again this year. So we're going to be covering a wide range of categories. Much of what we did last year, very much a repeat. So, we had the makings of a good laugh, a good event. Are you guys up for a revisit of the alternative veg grower show, where we do things like the ugliest vegetable, the smallest potato, the most obvious cheat, the most bashed up wheelbarrow, the muddiest boots, celebrating the failures, but making it into a fun thing? Would you guys be up for that? Of course, it'll go on beginning of October will be end of September, beginning of October. I'll work the dates out. But do you want to get involved in that? Or once again, let me know if that is something you would do. So Scott says lava bread is not bread, but lovely slow cooked seaweed. Does it actually use seaweed, or is it like the Chinese version of seaweed? I'll be a bit worried if it is seaweed, but let me know. Stuart Jackson, lava bread tastes great. Give it a go. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. Digger says lava bread is nice, but many would say it is an acquired taste. Excellent. Is there a recipe somebody could send me for it? Jenny says, absolutely, I'm up for the show. Kate says, I'm up for it. Digwell says, yes, a show would be cool, fun stuff. We will launch that again. Show is a good idea. Might remember 20 this year. I might remember, it doesn't bode well. I might remember to actually set it up properly so we can get all the entrants in and try and blast it out a bit more. I'm going to try and get some prizes for a bit of fun as well. Muddiest Boots, copyright infringement. That one was especially for you, Nigel. Just thought you would be great for it. Ballycillian says, going to hospital tomorrow for pre-operation consultation. Hope I get a date for operation to get back to normal life. Hope you are okay, my friend. Fingers crossed for you as well. As everybody knows, our health is so important. It's one of the reasons we grow our own food. Our health up is so important. Andrew says, I'm up for it if it includes the most bizarre looking parsnip. Definitely will include that. Excellent stuff. Rebecca says, loved the show. What a great idea doing the show again. Yep, so I will work out all the categories. It'll probably be a bit of a repeat of last year, but I will work out the categories and launch a video for it and a blog post. I'll try and make it a little bit more. I'll try and remember to shout about it a bit more. But it is just a lot of fun. I thought the alternative veg grower show, as we called it, the chance to celebrate the failures, to acknowledge that not everything goes right. Digwell says, 600 grams fresh laver seaweed, 3 tablespoons of olive oil to 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, salt and pepper to taste, 4 slices of bread and butter to taste. Is this seaweed you get from the beach, though? Yeah, it's just seaweed. Good thing is all seaweed in the UK is edible, but some taste better than others. It's what goes into the sea more than anything that worries me. What goes into the sea that those seaweed might be covered in. But I did say I'll do it. I'm just hesitant about it. Wash and rinse the seaweed in clean water several times. Over low heat or in a slow cooker, simmer the seaweed for 6 hours until it turns into a dark pulp. It's kind of what seaweed looks like anyway. Scott says he's up for the show. Combine the lava bread, olive oil, lemon juice, and seasoning and stir through. Toast the bread and butter to taste. Spoon the lava bread into a hot toast and serve immediately. I said I'll do it. I'm not looking forward to it, but I said I'll do it. And I said, you set me the challenge, so I cannot back out. I'm just, my stomach's bubbling at the thought of it. Oh, let's suppress my appetite, but we'll do it. Cockles with it is a must. I haven't had cockles in years. Yeah, I know my dad's watching. My dad used to often sit there with a pin picking his cockles, but I haven't had them in years. Graham said, wash it. Graham says, yes, Digwell, wash it well, then chuck it on the compost heap. Yeah, I'm going to set up my own compost for what do you call it? It's for seaweed anyway. For what do you call it? Oh, I've lost it. Stuart Jackson says Cardiff Market sells lava bread by the slice, tea for under £1. You can't go wrong. Yeah, that's no good to me. Where is it here? Or Welks. Yeah. Ian says it's called lava seaweed from the Welsh coast. Yeah. This is going to be an experiment. Like puke emoji now. Yeah, I'm with you on that. The video of Richard's face eating lava bread is going to be glorious. I'm not looking forward to it. I am not looking forward to it at all. Digwell says, don't worry about what is on it. It gets washed just like spuds and cow manure. You don't know the stuff that goes out to sea here. The southern water and the stuff that gets vented out to sea, it's not pleasant. Trust me. Margaret says lava is a fine seaweed collected for consumption along the Welsh coastline. Welsh lava bread or barra law has nothing to do with bread and is rather like a puree, most commonly enjoyed with shellfish or on hot buttered toast. To make lava bread, the seaweed is boiled for several hours, then pureed and minced. This results in gelatinous paste that can be sold as it is or rolled in oatmeal. Sometimes it is coated with oatmeal prior to frying. Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I'm not looking forward to this. Digwell says it looks like dark green spinach mush. Thank you, thank you. Question: using seaweed as a mulch, would the salt help control the slugs? Um, if it's washed up seaweed, the chances are there's little salt on it anyway, because it's probably been rinsed out. But you've got to be a bit careful with salt, of course, because it can damage the soil. But as I said, with asparagus can tolerate a bit of salt, so it's good for that. And I have to say, I've grown my best asparagus when I mulch with seaweed. Turbo Stream says, I would open a can of sardines, much easier. That's not the point of a challenge. That's not the point of the challenge at all. Locke, hello and welcome, by the way. There are no poisonous seaweeds near to the UK shores. I don't, that's not what worries me. That's not what worries me. It's everything else. Everything else. It sounds like it is going to be healthy, says Rebecca. Yeah, it certainly does sound like it is going to be healthy, but hey, we've got to give it a try. Where did the seaweed come from that you ate tonight? And more importantly, how long was it harvested? The seaweed I ate tonight was kale. We made it ourselves, just chopped kale, uh, roasted in the oven, basically, and turned into Chinese seaweed with a bit of sugar and MSG added to it for flavouring. That's a seaweed I ate tonight, not the genuine seaweed from the sea, of course. Yeah. Money Root says, have a bucket next to the desk next week. I think there will be a bucket. Yeah. Wait till I tell Amanda what about this. Rebecca says, mind you, coming out at sea, I'm not so sure. As I said, that's what worries me. And Amanda definitely won't be eating this. Scott says, a spoonful of sugar helps the seaweed go down. It's going to need more than sugar, I think. It's going to need, yeah. Bunny Cillian says, you're worried what's in the sea? Sure, we pot it in our beds. Go for it. I know. For some weird reason, I'm fine with putting it on my asparagus that I'm going to eat anyway, but I'm not fine with eating it. It's one of those things that just mentally, I cannot get my head around. But hey, we're going to do it. You set me the challenge of making lava bread, eating seaweed. Yeah. Amanda's going to love this when she hears about it. Absolutely love it. What has Nigel said? Have you set the first challenge? Have a set the first challenge that you have failed? I think there was a. A challenge we did once that I failed, or I felt I failed. Did you think I accomplished this week's mission of setting up a cloche on the allotment? I think we did. I didn't build it necessarily, but I did have the cloche. Toby Stream says Scott needs to do a seaweed recipe for the podcast now. It's not growing to your own, though, is it? Sea lettuce is probably the tastiest seaweed. I have no idea. Stuart Jackson says, you don't drink, but you will start next week after your seaweed challenge. Yeah. That's going to be a challenge. It's going to turn something, isn't it? Add a category for the most unpleasant food made in the produce show. You may win. Absolutely. Oh, Digwell has just reminded me about the harvests for the week. Yes, we have got some. So let's have a look at your harvests or people's harvests that they've harvested this week. Almost forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. Bethan set in this lovely picture, a basket full of goodies. I can see there's parsnips and butternut squash, carrots, lettuce, potatoes, even some purple sprouting broccoli. Just got my first purple sprouting broccoli this week as well. What else have we got? Nigel, he's harvested these carrots. Look fantastic, don't they? Absolutely delicious, tasty looking carrots. Also, oh, I thought there was one more. Hang on, there was one more. Oh, I've missed one photo, but you get the idea. There also Lee's parsnips as well, carrots and parsnips, and the knife is there, so you get an idea of the size. Look fantastic, I've got to say, absolutely fantastic. And then Chili Kate also sent in this picture: parsnips, leeks, and sprouts. So that is the harvests that you have sent in this week. Please do keep sending in pictures of your harvests for the week as well. It's a nice little extra segment we've added, and it's something I think we can add a bit more to as well. Excuse me, sorry. The thought of seaweed has already started on me. Absolutely started on me. Digwell says, do you know what is in your potting compost? You may be surprised. You are right. You are right. But I think ignorance sometimes is bliss, isn't it? Not knowing is better than knowing. Certainly why I can't eat in most restaurants these days. That's a whole other story. Stuart Jackson says yes. He says I accomplished this week's mission. So we'll see what happens. Graham says the challenge will be keeping it down, not making it. Indeed. Thermostream says I only harvested mud this week on my plot. There's something better than that. Kate says, I love seaweed in miso soup. Oh, miso soup. Do love miso soup. Ebedo says, can YouTube ban you for throwing up on a live stream? I don't think so. We'll find out next week, though, won't we? Digwell says, nice carrots. Shame about that. Oh, yeah. Yep. Scott says, vegetable ramen with seaweed is very good. Future recipe, maybe. Yeah, it's definitely one to think about, isn't it? Amanda's going to kill me. Amanda is absolutely going to kill me if the seaweed doesn't, that is. Digwell says, moaning about seaweed, but shellfish eat crap as their staple diet. Yeah, bottom feeders, oysters, they do eat a lot of stuff, don't they? That isn't, as I said, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss, and it makes life so much easier if you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Right, guys, we are approaching the end of this week's show. It's been good talking about our front gardens, talking about gardening, and I love it. I hope you all have a busy week and keep yourself busy. So, each week I'm trying to set you a bit of a challenge, or a bit of homework, as I might call it. What I want to know this week, and we touched on this last week, is what do you prefer for glazing your greenhouse, polycarbonate or glass? I want to have a bit of a debate on this. I might put a post out, but polycarbonate or glass for your greenhouse. Don't let me know. We'll get into that next week as a bit of homework. Give it some thought and let me know what you think. Right, guys. We will be back again next Sunday at 6. Podcast out tomorrow. We've got a recipe from Scott in it as well. There will be things going on the website soon as well. And we will work out the alternative veg grower show. All the details for that to come. So final comment. Nigel says the seaweed may kill you before Amanda. And Andrew says, night, everyone. Thanks, Richard. Thank you very much. Andrew, remind me your video. I will sort that in a minute, actually. Tyro Stream says, have a dry week, hopefully, everyone. And Bethan says, night, all. Have a great week. Right, guys, you take care. I'll see you again next Sunday at 6. Bye-bye. Oh, hang on. No.